Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Weldon Road, Castleford, for this, the preliminary round of the 92 Yorkshire Cup, sponsored by John Smith's, and of course a bit of a travesty this afternoon. Bradford and Castleford meeting in a preliminary round, and of course they were the two finalists last year. Right, the team news for this afternoon: Castleford, number 1 Graham Steadman, number 2 St John Ellis, number 3 Tony Smith, number 4 Richard Blackmore, number 5 Simon Middleton, number 6 Grant Anderson, number 7 Mike Ford, number 8 Lee Crooks, number 9 Neil Roebuck, number 10 Keith England, number 11 Martin Kettridge, number 12 Tony Morrison, and at number 13 Terrier Nicow. At number 14 Sean Irwin, and at number 15 Dean Sampson. And the Bradford Northern team: number 1 Roger Simpson, number 2 Gerald Caudle, number 3 Tony Marchant, number 4 Daryl Shelford, number 5, and making his debut for Bradford Northern after that signing in midweek, Bremer Kebby, number 6 Tony Anderson, number 7 Neil Summers, number 8 David Hobbs, number 9 Brian Noble, number 10 John Hamer, number 11 Roy Powell, number 12 Paul Medley, and at number 13 Dave Heron. At number 14 Steve McGowan, and at number 15 Trevor Clark. And the referee for this afternoon's game, Mr. P. Valenti from Leeds. Well, Bradford Northern in the away strip and losing the toss, so Northern to kick off and playing towards the railway end here at Weldon Road this afternoon in this first round of the preliminary round of the 1992-93 Yorkshire Cup. Bradford this afternoon with Bremer Kebby making his debut for the club, signed during the week from Huddersfield, as Neil Summers gets the game underway. And of course Castleford at full strength this afternoon. Lee Crooks, tourist, and of course Graham Steadman as Castleford take the first drive up there with Simon Middleton. Middleton obviously disappointed not to get on the tour, but Keith England putting the first good charge in there, getting out of his own 25, but good tackling there by John Hamer and David Hobbs, as Steadman there put under a little bit of pressure, and that ball dropping well short and well taken there by Daryl Shelford. So it's Bradford in possession, and pressure there put straight on Graham Steadman, who had a terrific tour on that Australian tour. So it's Northern on the attack with a little run around there. David Hobbs. Little planned move there by Bradford Northern, and Hobbs looking to turn his back, but David Hobbs appealing there that the ball was pulled out. Referee unsighted, Mr. Valenti looking at his touch judge, so first mistake there to Bradford Northern, as touch judge there signalled that David Hobbs had lost the ball. So a chance for Castleford to regain possession as Mike Ford puts the ball into the scrum. Good tackle there by Roger Simpson as Ford was straightening up to look for that gap. Neil Roebuck from the acting half-back, playing at hooker today. He's been converted into a hooker by Castleford coach. So Castleford up to the halfway line now. Nicow on the charge. Castleford looking to move the ball out wide. Good passes. Shelford gets the boot to the ball, so it's a chase between Shelford and Steadman as Steadman goes down on that ball. Pass going to ground there, and Daryl Shelford getting a boot to it, but the grass very, very long here at Weldon Road this afternoon. It's the first game to be played at Castleford, and we had a little walk on the pitch prior to the kick-off. At the speed of Steadman there, just managing to outpace Daryl Shelford, as a penalty awarded there for not laying directly behind one another. So it's Castleford back in possession with Beef England again, but England well tackled there by David Hobbs and John Hamer. Lee Crooks taking the drive up. But once again, Brian Noble there, wrapping himself round the legs of Crooks, and Ford switching the ball. Offloads to Nicow. Nicow gets the ball away back to England. Coming through there, but Tony Morrison there coming on to the short pass, but spilling that ball. So down we go to scrum as Neil Summers gets the ball in, out to Tony Anderson. Anderson switches inside to Daryl Shelford, but Shelford's well met there by the Castleford standoff. Grant Anderson as Roger Simpson taking the drive up, but he's wrapped up there by Lee Crooks. Powell on the charge. Northern moving the ball out wide now. It's a good ball out to Tony Marchant. Marchant, of course, an ex-Castleford favourite, signed for Bradford Northern when Neil Robert went the other way. And David Hobbs puts the chip over the top with that ball going out on the full there. That was on the fourth tackle, so not the handover, but it's head and ball to Castleford. Ball out with Castleford to Grant Anderson. Anderson straightening up, but well tackled there by his opposing standoff of the same name, Tony Anderson. But Castleford again coming and refereeing there very, very quickly. Spotted looked to be a high tackle. That's what he's signalling. It was Tony Marchant coming across there, and a little bit high as Mr. Valenti signals. So Castleford now gets into the Bradford half of the field. Graham Steadman finding touch on the 25. England again taking the drive up. Bradford caught there. Offside again. So obviously Mr. Valenti wanting to keep the players 10 yards at the play of the ball, and that resulting penalty gives Lee Crooks a chance to open Castleford account this afternoon. Well, a series of 3 penalties there that have brought Castleford within the sight of the Bradford posts. So Lee Crooks, first penalty of the game. Crooks just taking his time. Strokes the ball, and that looks as though it's just going to swing in. That's a good opening score for Castleford. So with just 5 minutes gone on the clock, it's Castleford 2, Bradford Northern 0. And David Heron there just having a quiet word with the referee. So Neil Summers will restart the game from the centre spot. Ball well shouted there for by Nick Howers. Kettridge takes the drive up to the 25 as Middleton from the acting halfback gets round Heron there, but good tackle by Roy Powell. Crooks, good strong run there by Lee Crooks. Castleford moving the ball out, but good defence there by Neil Summers. Ford spotted a gap down the blind side, gets into the Bradford half of the field, but referee's got his hand in the air as the ball back with Steadman. Steadman puts a good high ball up there, well taken by Roger Simpson. Testing kick there, that's the first high kick of the afternoon as Roy Powell from the acting halfback. John Hamer on the drive, but quick spotting there by Tony Morrison. as Paul Medley takes the charge up. Medley looking to go around his opposing number 11 there, Martin Kettridge, but Heron on the attack. Heron looking to make the half break, but referee once again, the fifth tackle come very, very quickly there. There's good pressure as Summers got the ball over the top, but Middleton straightening up, but a good tackle there when the gap had opened by Tony Marchant. Stedman dancing from the acting half-back, but well policed there by Brian Noble. Crooks on the charge again, but Mike Ford, little playmate, drops the ball off there to Nick Howe. Nick Howe looking to turn his back, but Paul Medley coming in and smothering that ball. Nick Howe there losing the ball, but referee looked as though he was going to blow up, but that's a good ball laid off there to Beef England as Middleton now going for the corner. Good cover tackling there on Middleton by Roger Simpson as Castleford on the last tackle as Stedman pops the ball through, but that's well taken there by Paul Medley. That ball chipped up over the top of the Bradford defence, and Paul Medley coming in and just sweeping up at the back. Roy Powell once again, but Bradford not really got any depth in this opening 10 minutes to start moving the ball out as Heron takes the drive up again. Summers to David Hobbs. Hobbs puts a long raking kick in, and that's a good touch finder by David Hobbs. Finding touch on the just inside the Castleford 25. And a very warm afternoon here at Weldon Road, and the players obviously grateful for a good kicking game this afternoon from David Hobbs. Save a lot of hard work, but it's the head and ball to Castleford. Ford gets the ball in, comes up from acting half-back, but good tackle there by Tony Anderson on Mike Ford. Cass looking to play this ball quickly. Nick Howe looking to go around his man, but good spotting, good tackling there by Bradford Northern, the pair of centres. Lee Crooks, good ball to Anderson, made the initial break, but a good spotting there by Tony Marchant as Ford goes on his own, gets the ball out to, pops the ball over the top, and that's the first touch of the ball for Brimmer Kebby. Crooks just popping that ball over the top for his wingman as Tony Marchant at the acting half-back. Hobbs taking the drive up. Nobody really supporting David in this opening 10 minutes, looking for that half break, looking to turn his back and offload the ball. Heron, Northern with the little switch on. Anderson gets the ball out to Tony Marchant inside to Kebby, and Kebby's finally brought down, but nice little move there by Bradford Northern as Summers brings the ball across the park. Heron sells it, little chip over the top for Gerald Cordell, but that's a knock on by Simon Middleton. Good little chip over the top there. The Castleford winger Middleton was out of position, and when he went up for that ball, knocking the ball forward, so a chance for Bradford Northern now with 6 more tackles. Bradford with the head and ball on the Castleford 10-yard mark. Summers gets the ball, little run round with Roger Simpson coming in there, but Simpson running straight into the cover there. Northern with a planned move on, but ball out to Summers with a long ball out to Kebby going round the outside, and Kebby scores the opening try for Bradford Northern. A good long ball there by Neil Summers, missing 2 or 3 players out, and the electric pace there of Brimmer Kebby diving in at the corner as the cover came across, and that's Bradford Northern's first score of the afternoon. 13 minutes into this game. It's Castleford 2, Bradford Northern 4. So, what a dream start there for Kebby. As I said earlier on, signing midweek from Huddersfield. And a nice way to open his account for Bradford Northern. So David Hobbs with quite a long kick from the touchline. Hobbs comes up, meets the ball now, but that ball's just dropping short to the left-hand side of the uprights. So, some 14 minutes gone. It's Castleford 2, Bradford Northern 4. Lee Crooks to restart the game from the centre spot. Very, very little wind here at Weldon Road this afternoon to assist either side, but Crooks with a good, high, deep kick, but well taken there by Roy Powell on his own try line as Powell comes out. And good, strong running there from Roy Powell. A quick play of the ball to John Hamer as Hamer driving up towards the 25. Paul Medley on the charge now. Medley into Nick Howe, but refereeing very, very quickly there as the ball back to David Hobbs. A little switch on as Hobbs puts a long kick up the centre of the park, making the winger there, St John Ellis, turn as St John Ellis tries to go around Kebby, but Kebby holds him to ground on the halfway line. Castleford coming again with Lee Crooks. Crooks turning his back there, looking to offload, but good smother tackling there by Roy Powell. Beefy England once again. England. Good, strong Castleford forward. Ford again looking to open the gaps up. And that ball come back and picked up by Paul Medley, and Medley there just going down on that ball. Thought Ford was going to get it, but referee signalling there. Referee wave play on, but the intervention of the linesman there, signalling that there was a knock on there. As Paul Medley went for that ball. So Castleford a chance to regain the possession, which they do from the scrum. Anderson trying to lay the ball off, but Steadman well wrapped up there by his opposing number one, Roger Simpson. Castleford with a little move on there. There's a player went on the dummy run, but Tony Morrison takes the drive into the Bradford half of the field. Kettridge is well wrapped up there by Brian Noble and John Hamer. Ford, little run round with good hit there by Paul Medley. On Tony Smith, the Castleford centre, it's Nick Howe. Nick Howe sells the dummy. Castleford getting the ball out there, but referee spotted the forward pass there from Nick Howe. And on the spot there was Mr. Valenti, the referee, but the gap had opened up there. A good break by Nick Howe. So it'll be head and ball to Bradford Northern. Neil Summers, it's the ball in the scrum. Switches the ball out to Roger Simpson. Simpson looking to come round, but pulled down there by Richard Blackmore. Gerald Caudle, first touch of the ball this afternoon, but he manages just to get out of his own 25 as John Hamer on the drive again, but Neil Roebuck, a good tackle there on John Hamer. Shelford chips the ball over the top, but straight into the waiting arms there of Graham Steadman. Steadman sets off, and Good tackle there by Neil Summers, just hanging on to the shirt of Steadman, forcing him down, but it's Crooks taking the drive up again. Morrison, good strong run by the Castleford second row. Number 12 there, Tony Morrison. Cass look to move the ball out. Nick Howe coming at speed. Good ball. And a mistake there by the Castleford number 3, Tony Smith. He'd got 2 players on the outside of him. Cass looking to work the short side. The ball moving out as Morrison on the charge there, but that's the last tackle now for Castleford. It'll be back to Graham Steadman or probably Mike Ford to put the little chip in. Ford puts the chip through, but picked up there by Roger Simpson. Simpson comes out. Good relieving run there by the Northern fullback. Castleford players were standing about looking for the obstruction, but Roger played to the whistle and made a good relieving 25 yards there for Bradford Northerners. Northern once again with Tony Marchant. Marchant stepping inside. So David Hobbs once again looking to move this ball out to Darryl Shelford slips the ball inside to Gerald Cordell. Cordell going across the park, straightens up now, but 4 tackles gone now for Bradford Northern. Referee signals play on there as Brian Noble from the Acton half back. Nick Howe there just going over the top, and Brian Noble obviously not liking that. Referee in very, very quickly there. Awards a penalty to Bradford Northern, and Nick Howe being told in no uncertain terms by the referee to get away, the penalty being given. So a chance for David Hobbs. Referee giving the penalty there, just letting things simmer down a bit. The game starting to bubble and boil up a little bit, but so David Hobbs, 35 yards just to the right hand side of the post. That's a good kick by Hobbs, but actually hitting the upright there, the ball spinning out, hitting the upright, and that's picked up there by Grant Anderson as Castleford look to bring the ball away, but good tackle there by Paul Medley on Simon Middleton. Beefy England there, England spilling the ball, and referee giving a penalty to Castleford. And David Hobbs just asking the question there. That looked as though it was a good tackle by John Hamer on Beefy England, making that ball spill out. So a chance for Steadman. Finding touch. Lee Crooks taking the drive, but well met there, and straight away referee in, pulling John Hamer out. There looked to be nothing at all wrong with that tackle from our elevated angle here, but see what the referee's going to signal about the tackle. So he's saying a high tackle there, but that tackle didn't really look high to us. So Castleford once again make a good 50 yards with 2 very, very dubious penalties in this last 2 or 3 minutes. It's Beef England taking the drive up again, and David Hobbs this time picks England up by the feet. Kettridge driving towards the Bradford Northern post. Little switch now, working the short side. Castleford, Blackmore pops the ball out. It's a good pass and well played there by Castleford. Worked the short side move, and the ball was laid off well there by Blackmore to Simon Middleton. Roger Simpson had him covered, but Middleton just managing to spin round and plonk the ball down over the try line. But a try there scored by Castleford after two very, very funny penalty decisions by the referee. But that puts Castleford into the lead. It's now Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 4. So Lee Crooks with his second kick of goal this afternoon from around about the same position where he scored that penalty to open Castleford's account. That's a good kick by Crooks. The ball just drifting out to the right hand side of the post. So 24 minutes gone on the clock. It's now Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 4. Neil Summers to restart the game. Summers gets a good long deep kicking, and Blackmore there just letting that ball bounce once as Blackmore gets around Medley, but half stop there by Neil Summers, but Summers gets him at the second attempt, helped by John Hamer, and straight away another referee saying he didn't play the ball correctly there, so giving a scrum down. The Bradford players around him as Blackmore tried to play the ball quickly, but just dropping the ball there between his legs. So classed as a knock-on as Northern feed the scrum with Neil Summers. Gets the ball out to Anderson, but Anderson's well wrapped up there. Roy Powell taking the first drive up to the Castleford 25. John Hamer on the drive now, but he's well met there by three of the big Castleford pack. David Hobbs. Long ball out. Northern looking to move the ball. Nice little dropped off pass there to Daryl Shelford by Tony Anderson. And Shelford just pulled down by the bootlaces. It's Northern coming in with Dave Herron. Herron gets the ball on to Tony Marchant. Marchant sidesteps one way but finds no way through as referee with the fifth and last tackle. Northern looking to keep the ball alive as Summers wrapped up on his own 25, and that'll be the handover. Those six tackles seem to come very, very quickly, and Bradford caught a little bit unawares as Lee Crooks takes the drive up from that handover. St John Ellis there coming in off the wing to take that first drive as Kettridge taking the ball up, turning his back, but Brian Noble there smothering man and ball. And once again Nick Howe coming through there on that drive, but knock on there. Tony Marchant just not being able to gather that ball, but referee Mr Valenti will go back to the original knock on as Nick Howe came through on the burst there. Just couldn't take the ball, so it's head and ball to Bradford Northern. Summers gets the ball in out to Tony Anderson. Anderson drops the ball off to Roger Simpson. Coming up from full back straight away. Referee in there saw the high tackle on Roger Simpson as Simpson was trying to go around his man there and an arm stuck out, so a penalty to Northern, and obviously Mr Valenti this afternoon keen on the attempted high tackles, and Neil Summers finds a good touch just inside the Castleford 25. Summers first man. John Hamer taking the drive. Good strong running by Hamer as Nick Howe once again. David Hobbs. Hobbs on the charge. Hobbs gets the ball out to Roy Powell. Powell slips the ball back inside to Brian Noble, but Noble's brought down just 2 yards short of the Castleford try line. Tony Marchant. Marchant looking to find a little gap through there. He's pulled down a yard short underneath the Castleford post. David Hobbs drills the ball in, and that ball going loose, bouncing off a Castleford player, and Paul Medley not getting down quick enough there, so Castleford get possession back in their own 25 as Kettridge takes the drive out. Plays the ball to himself there. There was no marker, so he's entitled to do that. Kettridge making a good 10 yards there. Crooks on the ball. Crooks well tackled by Roy Powell. And once again, Castleford playing the ball there. Crooks a chance to play the ball to himself as that ball finds touch just inside the Northern 25. And one or two of the Bradford players just taking the time, going back. It's a very, very warm afternoon here at Weldon Road. So as we come up to the half hour, it's still Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 4 as Kebby ticks the ball up from that scrum. Neil Summers, the ball to Shelford, and Shelford there nearly spinning the ball but managing to get it at the second attempt as John Hamer. Hamer gets the ball out to Gerald Caudle. Caudle looking to knock his man off Middleton, but no way through there for Caudle as he tried to go round the outside. Summers ducking, bobbing, weaving, but Powell again on the drive, but that's the last tackle for Bradford Northern. The ball back to Neil Summers. Summers puts a good deep kick down the field, but well taken by Graham Steadman on his own 25 as Steadman looks to go around Anderson, but a good tackle there by Tony Anderson brings Graham Steadman down round the legs. Castleford from the acting half back there, but up to the halfway line as Neil Roebuck from the acting half back. The ball to Ford. Castleford look to move this ball out. Little run round there between the standoff on the centre and the second row, but well spotted by Bradford Northern's. Ford chips the ball over the top. Roger Simpson takes the ball cleanly. Starts ducking, bobbing about, but nowhere to go. Ball with Gerald Caudle now. Caudle bursts through one. Good bursting tackle. Caudle, but just pulled down by Mike Ford. One arm is trying to go round Mike Ford, but a good run there by Caudle. Northern moving the ball across the park. Brings the ball back inside to Roy Powell. Powell looking for supporting players, but Northern once again. Neil Summers with the little run round with Heron. Heron gets the ball inside to John Hamer, but no way through there for John Hamer. 4 tackles gone now for Bradford Northern as Heron once again gets the ball out to Medley. Medley flips the ball back once again to the supporting Heron. Out to Marchant. Marchant keeping the ball alive as Hamer there looking to straighten up, looking for the supporting players, but that's the last tackle for Bradford Northern. David Hobbs with the ball, chips the ball over the top. Well taken there by Graham Steadman, and Tony Marchant following up very, very quickly, brings him to down just 2 yards short of the Castleford post. And once again, referee pulling out there for the high tackle. Middleton, the winger, was going away from Shelford as Shelford dived for him, but some funny decisions here with the high tackles today. Mr. Valenti playing it to the letter. So Castleford with the resulting penalty, fine touch, and Lee Crooks taking the charge up again. Pulled down there by John Hamer and Paul Medley. Nick out wide. Nick out looks to offload, but picked up there, the loose ball picked up by Roy Powell on the halfway line. So Northern back in possession. Ball out with Tony Anderson. Anderson straightens up. 2 or 3 players on the outside of him. There's Roger Simpson, goes from the acting halfback, steps out of the clutches there of the Castleford number 3, Tony Smith. David Hobbs. Hobbs looking to ring the changes, gets the ball to Neil Summers. Summers, a long ball out to Kebby, and a high tackle there on Kebby, and referee Kebby was going through the gap there. It looked as though he'd got a breakthrough, but swinging arm there And it looks like Lee Crooks coming over to have a word with the referee. Player there, the number 3, Tony Smith. And Kebby receiving treatment there from Marie. And Peter Fox making a substitution. John Hamer going off the field. Obviously John been in for a little bit of treatment this afternoon from Nicow. And it looks like Trevor Clark on the field, and of course Clark, a fellow countryman of Nicow. So David Hobbs just whipping his troops up as Summers elects to put the ball into the corner. So Norden 10 yards from the Castleford try line. 35 minutes gone on the clock. David Hobbs straightens up. Hobbs just pulled down a yard short of that Castleford try line. Norden with Roy Powell. Powell straightening up, but 3 or 4 Castleford players very, very quickly round Roy Powell. Heron, long ball out, well picked up by Marchant, but Marchant just losing it at the second attempt. The long ball out, looking to open this Castleford defence up. So it's Castleford bringing the ball away, but good tackling by Norden. Pushed the man back, but swept up at the back by Graham Steadman. Nicow on the ball. Trevor Clark very, very quickly on to Nicow there. Obviously come on with some instructions from Peter Fox. And the tempo of the game warming up now. Lee Crooks on the charge. Crooks sells the dummy, looks to lay the ball off somebody coming short off the shoulder, but good tackle there by Tony Marchant. And all the Castleford players stood about as that ball went past. Last tackle for Castleford, so the ball with Neil Roebuck now. Roebuck with a long ball out. It's a good ball by Roebuck. And a good tackle there by Kebby. Referee saying he wasn't held, but Roger Simpson finally sweeping up at the back there. That was on the last tackle, and Norden players were looking to the referee there. Medley looking to make a half break, but Nicow over the top as Tony Anderson gets the ball to Gerald Caudle. A good tackle there by Middleton on Caudle as Caudle looking to go round the outside of him. Summers taking the drive up. Nice little dummy from Neil Summers, but nobody coming there for that return passing. Tony Anderson on the other side of him. David Hobbs. Hobbs gets the ball back to Brian Noble, but Noble just collared from behind there by Kettridge. 4 tackles gone for Bradford Norden now as Heron took that ball well as and Clark there just putting the ball to ground as Roy Powell offloaded that ball, and Clark not really expecting it. The gaps had opened up. Crooks lays the ball up. Once again the ball is forged offside there, but referee giving the ball back to Castleford, saying it touched the Bradford man. Shelford there finally gets the ball, knocking the ball down, and that's a knock on now. The ball knocked down there by Daryl Shelford off Mike Ford, and referee awarding the head and ball to Castleford on the halfway line as we come into the last 2 or 3 minutes of this first half of this preliminary round of the Yorkshire Cup. Anderson there looking to sell the dummy. Had a player going through on a foil, but the Bradford players were to it. St John Ellis takes a good ball, looks to go round the outside of Roger Simpson, but good tackle there by Roger Simpson on St John Ellis. Brings him to ground, but Norden need to keep Castleford out as Steadman puts the chip over the top. A little bit too far, picked up by Gerald Caudle. Caudle straightens up, good yard is made there by Gerald Caudle. David Hobbs. Hobbs back into the waiting cover there. So Neil Summers laid off to Paul Medley. Medley on that explosive burst through. Just Graham Stedman to beat, and a good cover tackle there by Graham Stedman. Marchant goes inside. It's the ball to Clark, but once again, Trevor Clark putting that ball down the Castleford line at Bradford Northern's mercy then, as Castleford come away now with Lee Crooks, but explosive burst there by Paul Medley. And a try-saving tackle by the Castleford fullback, Graham Stedman. So Castleford with beefy England taking the first drive. Lays the ball back. David Hobbs in on the loose ball there. So a chance for Northern too. And catching 2 or 3, 4 Castleford players. A good quick play of the ball there as Neil Summers goes up very quickly to tap the ball, but David Hobbs saying that's a good 2 points for Northern. As we come up to the half-time hooter, 40 minutes gone on the clock here at Castleford. And the referee there spotting 2 or 3 players offside, but a good quick play of the ball there by Bradford Northern. And beefy England going off the park, so that could be Dean Sampson coming on to replace him. There's David Hobbs directly underneath the post, looking to level the score as we approach that half-time hooter. Hobbs strikes the ball now, finds the centre of the post. So that's Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 6 in this preliminary round of the Yorkshire Cup. Well, Lee Crooks to restart the game. And territory-wise this afternoon, Northern had better of the territory play so far. So Crooks will put this ball deep into the bottom corners. Trevor Clark under the ball there. Brings the ball up towards the 25, but he's well met there by Neil Roebuck. Brian Noble from the acting halfback. That little darting run as the half-time hooter goes here at Weldon Road. Scores all level, 6-all. It's that try from Brimmer-Kebby that is opening try for Bradford Northern, and of course that Simon Middleton try, and then a goal apiece to Lee Crooks and David Hobbs. So half-time score, Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 6. So the half-time interval over, and a change for Bradford Northern. Steve McGowan coming onto the park to replace Daryl Shelford. And what a contrast from that first half, and with brilliant sunshine as the heavens opened here at Weldon Road. So obviously that first 10-15 minutes of this game, this ball going to be very, very slippy. Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 6. And of course, with this being a Yorkshire Cup tie, we do play extra time if both sides are level at the end of it, as Neil Summers takes that ball safely from the kick-off, gets the ball on to Paul Medley, and Medley up over the 25. Roy Powell taking the drive up for Northern, met there by Nick Howe and Lee Crooks. David Hobbs puts the boot to the ball. That's a good long deep raking kick by David Hobbs, but the ball bouncing on the point and coming inside is Gerald Caudle up there very, very quickly on Graham Stedman, and Steve McGowan up in attendance with him as Castleford look to bring the ball out with the winger, but running straight across the post, and he's met there by David Hobbs as Castleford there with another substitution on Dean Sampson on the part, and making good inroads there, his first touch of the ball, but Ford, the ball out to Nicow. Nicow floats a good ball over the top to Middleton. Middleton stepping back inside there and well met by Steve McGowan as referee signals the last tackle for Castleford. The ball with Lee Crooks. Crooks put under pressure there by Trevor Clark as Roger Simpson picks the ball upon his own 25. Simpson looking to come round the outside, but finally brought to ground on the 25. Caudle coming in off the wing, looking for work as the rain buckets down here at Weldon Road. Brian Noble from the acting halfback, saw the little dummy there, saw that Samson was upon him quickly as David Hobbs taking the charge up. It's 4 tackles gone now for Bradford Northern. The ball back to Neil Summers. Summers once again with that kick over the top, and Steadman taking his eye off that ball at the crucial minutes. The ball just bouncing, and Steadman showing disgust with himself by thumping the floor. So that's scrum down on the Castleford 25, head and ball to Bradford Northern. Northern come out in this second half obviously with a kicking plan to keep Castleford in their own half of the field. Summers gets the ball into Anderson, on to Steve McGowan. McGowan first touch, good strong running there by Steve McGowan. His first game back after injury, that groin injury that he had at the back end of last season that kept him out of the cup games. As Roger Simpson ducking, diving, weaving, looking for the support. McGowan up in support, but Tony Anderson was there, but on the wrong side of Roger Simpson. As Northern now, good long ball out, wanted here by Northern, out to Paul Medley. Medley burst through, and a good try by Bradford Northern. The long ball out there and stretched the Castleford defence, and Paul Medley on the burst scores a try for Bradford Northern just 2 minutes into this second half. And the speed of Medley there out in the centre. That's where the second row likes to be, to run onto these balls. And it was quick hands by Bradford Northern from the play of the ball. The good long ball out to Paul Medley. And Medley, with the arm raised triumphantly, scored that try for Bradford Northern. That puts them back into the lead. It's now Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 10. Oh, David Hobbs on the 25. Quick look up at the post, strokes the ball, and the Bradford spectators behind the post told us that ball was between the sticks. So Northern extend the lead some 4 minutes into this second half. Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 12. And of course, with that rain coming down, it's coming from the railway end, so it's driving into the faces of the Castleford players. But Northern opening that the second half of this game very, very enterprisingly. Come out with a kicking plan. We've had 3 kicks to get the ball into the Castleford half of the field, and that try resulting from that mistake by Graham Steadman as Lee Crooks gets the ball away again. Well taken there by Neil Summers. Summers looking for somebody coming, elects to go on his own. He's brought down just inside his own 25. Medley with the handoff, spinning round up to the 25, pulled down by Dean Sampson's Roy Powell taking the charge up. Lee Crooks very, very quickly there onto Roy Powell as the ball back to David Hobbs, switching the ball as the pressure was put on. Once again the kicking game as making Middleton turn round as Northern just hang 10, but nice to see a good solid line of Northern defenders up there. Steadman from the acting halfback gets the ball now coming with Kettridge. Kettridge is well met there by Roy Powell and Tony Anderson. Ford first man in, gets the long ball out. Nicow running on the blind as Steve McGowan in the interception there. Steve McGowan knocked that ball down. Blackmore was looking to get it out to the winger, Middleton. And McGowan reading that ball very, very well. So it's Northern back in possession on the Castleford 25. Neil Summers, the little run round with Heron. Long ball out to Tony Anderson. Anderson flips the ball inside to Tony Marchant. Marchant dancing round one. Just couldn't get out of the clutches there of Lee Crooks. So Northern once again, the long ball needed for Northern as Paul Medley on the charge again as Medley gets the ball out to Gerald Cordle, but Cordle just forced into touch on that far side, but Castleford wingers stopping inside and the gaps are there on the outside. If Northern can get this ball out quick, the chances for the wingers. So down we go to scrum. It's Castleford's head and ball on the 10-yard mark. And crowd obviously shouting there. Probably saw a little knock on behind the scrum, but referee didn't. So it's Castleford with the ball. Kettridge, and once again the ball spilling out, swept up at the back by Brian Nobles. Noble straightens up, goes towards the post, but brought down there by Graham Steadman. David Hobbs onto Heron. Heron out to Roger Simpson. Simpson straightens up, going towards the post. Gets the ball back once again. That ball just going to ground at the crucial time. Trevor Clark on the ball. Steadman. So Steadman looking to bring the ball away, but good pressure by Bradford Northern. Just the little mistakes at the final time as Sampson. Good, strong, charging run there by Dean Sampson. Makes a good 15 yards. Crooks once again as Neil Summers wraps himself around Crook's legs, brings him down, a boot flies out of the tackle. Castleford working the short side with Nickow. Nickow, good ball by Nickow onto Kettridge. And a good tackle there by Bremer Kebby, but it's Castleford with Ford. Ford, the little chip through, and Kebby just getting a hand onto that ball, forcing it dead. But it was a good break there by the Castleford number 12, Tony Morrison, going down the wing. A good tackle by Bremer Kebby, brought him down, and Castleford with that little chip through, and then Kebby finally getting a hand to the ball just to save that try. So a drop out for Northern underneath the post as the referee just stops the clock. Lee Crooks back with two boots on now as Summers. It's the ball down the park, taken on the first bounce by Steadman as Steadman sets off on a charge, but wrapped up there by Tony Anderson and Steve McGowan. Kettridge, good, big, strong running second row forward for Castleford. Castleford working the short side. Blackmore looking to spin round, but good smother tackle there by Paul Medley. Clamping man and ball as Cass play the ball very, very quickly. The ball out to Crooks. And once again the final pass going to ground there. The overlap had been made. Crooks loading the ball over the top basketball side, but Castleford centre there. Tony Smith just not being able to get a hold of that ball, so it's Northern head and ball underneath their own posts. Summers gets the ball and goes around the pack. Elects to go on his own. Trevor Clark from the acting halfback. Roy Powell. And David Hobbs hanging back there. There's also Neil Summers hanging back for that kickers. Dave Heron. Anderson there in support, but just didn't see him at the right time as the ball goes to David Hobbs, switches it back once again to Neil Summers as Summers kicks the ball. That's all on, but it touched the Castleford man as once again the Bradford line was there. Ball well picked up there by the number 3 for Castleford, Tony Smith, from that acting half-back. Made inroads back into the Bradford half of the field. So it's Castleford again. The ball on to Sampson. Sampson steps out of one. knocks Trevor Clark off. As Steadman coming in, but a good shoulder charge tackle there by Paul Medley on Graham Steadman as Castleford work the short side with Ford. Ford drops the ball back to the number 11 Martin Kettridge, but good cover tackling by Bradford Norden. And obviously referee going over there, giving a penalty to Bradford Norden. It was Dave Heron that was trying to get up as Castleford played that ball. And Lee Crooks electing to go for goal. So some 12 minutes gone in this second half. Chance for Lee Crooks to reduce the years by 2 points. That penalty awarded to Castleford. And the rain finally stopped. The clouds a little bit grey up above, but thankful that the rain stopped. So it's Lee Crooks, 10 yards in on that far side, strikes the ball. That ball hanging as Roy Powell takes the ball safely, drives out. Crooks got underneath that ball. Steve McGowan on the drive, first man, brought down there by Kettridge. Trevor Clark. Clark's well met there by Dean Sampson. Summers once again with the deep kick down the park, but Graham Steadman hanging back and a little bit undecisive there with Steadman. That ball was bouncing and bobbling as Gerald Caudle comes in very, very quickly, wraps him up. So that's Castleford back in their own half of the field. There's a little run round there with Mike Ford and Middleton, but Middleton's brought down on the halfway line. Crooks. Good ball there by Lee Crooks to the number 3, Tony Smith. As Smith going for the corner, and Paul Medley there, a brilliant try-saving tackle on the Castleford centre. But it's Castleford now. Norden back under the cosh as Sampson, this big number 15, gets the ball onto Mark Ford as Ford just a yard short of the Norden try line. Castleford looking to get the long ball out, but sucked into the gap. That's the 5th and last tackle, and that ball coming out loose there. Linesman didn't see any infringement. Referee looked at his linesman, but no signal, so that's a scrum down on the 10-yard mark. New rule this season that any infringement 10 yards inside that 10-yard mark, the referee brings them back to scrum 10 yards from the post, so that's Norden's head and ball. And a little bit of a let off there for Norden as Neil Summers comes up with the ball, straightens up, but straight into the waiting arms there of Nicow. Anderson. Roy Powell. Powell looking to shrug off the clutches there of Nicow. David Hobbs on to Wayne Heron. Out to Paul Medley. Medley with that handoff working again, but no way through this time for Medley. David Hobbs just checking there, gets the ball to Gerald Caudle. Caudle puts big high kick in, but that's going to go out on the full. That was on the 5th tackle. Was it the 4th tackle? Out on the full, so that's a scrum down. Head and ball to Castleford. So the ball in, out, Castleford away with Anderson. Anderson on to Blackmore. Blackmore trying to get out of the clutches there off Steve McGowan, but up quickly, plays the ball. Lee Crooks. Crooks selling the dummy, but good tackle there by Roy Powell. Robert from the acting half back, but once again Roy Powell, Mr. Dependable, puts his man down as Mike Ford elects to go. Lays the ball back to the number 12, Kettridge, Tony Morrison, as Morrison just 5 yards from the Norden try line. Ford, the long ball out to Crooks. Crooks with the little chip over the top. Bit of a clutch, bit of a scramble there, and looks like the referee's given a try. That ball popped out. 2 or 3 Bradford players went for the ball, and the try awarded there to Mike Ford, the Castleford scrum half. So obviously a planned move of Castleford. In the corner there, Lee Crooks with that good little chip over the top, and Mike Ford awarded the try for Castleford. So it's now Castleford 10, Bradford Northern 12, and Lee Crooks with his conversion to come. 16 minutes gone in this second half. So Lee Crooks just 5 yards in from the touchline. Chance to level the scores. And Cooks pulling that ball way to the left-hand side of the post. And Wayne Heron there just receiving a little bit of treatment from Marie, but stopping on the part, a little bit of a limp on there, so it's just that 2 points difference. Neil Summers will restart this game from the halfway line as the sun attempts to come out again here at Weldon Road. The ball just trapped there by Blackmore. Blackmore gets round the tackle of one, steps out of the tackle of two, finally pulled down by Paul Medley as quick play of the ball by Castleford onto this big number 15. Good bullocking run there by the number 15, Dean Sampson. Castleford on the attack now. Crooks sells the dummy, and that ball just going to ground, picked up there by Roger Simpson, but referee should go back to that the initial knock on there, the initial infringement. Crooks bursting through, dropping the ball. No advantage to Bradford Northern, so Mr. Valenti scrum down. It's head and ball to Bradford Northern on their own 25. Northern with Roger Simpson. Tony Marchant at the first man, looking to step inside, but no way through there as Roy Powell takes the charge up again. David Hobbs, but a good tackle there by Neil Roebuck on David Hobbs, and straight away the referee spotting some infringement there, and it looks like 10 minutes in the sin bin there. It was a foul on David Hobbs. Didn't actually see what had happened from here, but referee was on the spot, and it's the number 12, Tony Morrison, gets the yellow card, so that's 10 minutes in the sin bin. As we come up midway through this second half, Castleford down to 12 players, and David Hobbs just receiving attention there. And referee there signalling it was a knee on David Hobbs as he was tackled there, brought to ground, and the Castleford number 12 Morrison coming in and just dropping the knee onto David Hobbs. So it's Neil Summers to try and find touch on that far side. That's a good touch finder into the Castleford half of the field. So Northern now with 6 tackles to try and make inroads. Roy Powell coming running from deep as Powell up to the 25, brought to ground by 3 Castleford players. Castleford down to 12 men as Heron, the ball out to Medley. Medley straightens up, hands one off. But a good tackle there by Neil Roebuck as Medley was looking to go around the man. Summers, a little run round with David Hobbs. Hobbs straightening up, looking for the half break, but Lee Crooks there, clamping man and ball as Northern once again with a big wide overlap here. But Roger Simpson elects to straighten up, goes on his own. The cover was coming across there as Summers to Heron. Heron, the ball out to Paul Medley. Medley once again with the handoff. She couldn't get the ball out there to Gerald Caudle. Made the half break, but that's the last tackle now for Bradford Norden. Heron drills the ball along the floor. Castleford in an offside position there. Roy Powell got the ball back there, and Neil Roebuck just putting a boot to the ball in an offside position, so chance for David Hobbs. Hobbs taps the ball quickly. Norden moved the ball out with Roger Simpson. Once again, Simpson straightening up, going towards the post. 6 more tackles now for Bradford Norden. Marchant looks to go on his own from the acting half-back, but wrestled to the ground there by Nickow. Hobbs there, just Goldman getting a... Kebby dives into the corner and scores his second try for Bradford Northern. Once again, it was the long ball out from David Hobbs. Hobbs knocked the Bradford man out of the way, and the speed of Kebby, second try of the afternoon, dives in at the corner for Bradford Northern. And Kebby there getting the congratulations of his teammates. Acknowledges the Bradford supporters underneath our gantry position. And obviously a good acquisition for Bradford Norden. Little bit of speed out on the flank. So David Hobbs from the touchline side on the 25. 23 minutes gone on the clock. Hobbs strikes the ball, but that drifts out across the face of the post. So it's Castleford 10, Bradford Norden 16. Norden back with that 6-point lead. And of course there Castleford down to 12 men after that sending off for 10 minutes into the sin bin of Tony Morrison. Norden managing to stretch the defence. So Lee Crooks restarts the game. Ball well taken there by Neil Summers. Summers up over the 25. Spins out of one, but finally brought down by Neil Roebuck. That's good run by Neil Summers. Roy Powell on the charge once again. Striding up to the halfway line. David Hobbs. Hobbs taking the charge. It lays the ball off to Trevor Clark, but Clark's brought to ground. It's Norden now back in the Castleford half of the field. Heron with the long ball out to Steve McGowan. Lays the ball off inside to Gerald Caudle. Caudle straightening up now, looking to burst through, but no way through this time for Caudle. Summers with the high kick into the corner. Anderson chasing there, but well taken there by Graham Steadman. And referee saying that Tony Anderson wasn't 10 yards when he took that ball, but Anderson looked to run from an onside position there. And Steadman finds touch, so Castleford back in possession, but enterprising play there by Bradford Norden. So Castleford restart from the tap with the big number 15 again, Dean Sampson. Every time he's had the ball this afternoon, he's made good inroads into the Bradford defence. Anderson on the ball. Anderson looking to show it, but good tackling by Neil Summers. Castleford working the short side. Lee Crooks putting that ball down, but referee saying no knock on there. It looked to go through Crooks' arm. He was running in a forward position, but Castleford coming again. Nickow looking to sell it a bit, looking to straighten up. Roy Powell, let him take the gap there, and quick play of the ball is Ford on to Crooks offloading, and the ball spilled out and swept up at the back by Roger Simpson. Simpson turns, gets away from his man, straightens up now, and finally brought to ground by Tony Smith. Noble from the acting halfback makes a good 10 yards. David Hobbs turning his back, looking for somebody coming supporting. Heron looking to offload the ball, gets the ball out to Kebby. Kebby steps inside. Kebby just brought down by the shorts, but Anderson, Marchant, on to Neil Summers, and Norden once again. Long ball out now. Medley's on the wing. Medley with a handoff, but the cover managing to get across this time. It's the last tackle for Norden. There's the ball out from Roger Simpson, and a little bit of a knock on there by Tony Anderson. It was a bit of a wild pass from Roger Simpson that forced Tony Anderson to try and pick the ball up from his bootlaces, but hand over. That was the sixth tackle. And Castleford making a substitution. Martin Kettridge going off the field. So Castleford looking to bring the ball away again with Dean Sampson. Nick Howe on the ball again. Nick Howe looking for the gap. Looks for the player coming off the shoulder, but good spotting there by Norden. Crooks on the charge. Crooks steps inside, makes the half break, but finally brought down by Neil Summers. Summers not one of the biggest players on the park, but good tacklers. Good tackle there by Paul Medley. Good hit on Grant Anderson. Ford with the ball. Gets the ball to Stedman, but just ankle tap there, and referee raises his hand. That's the last tackle for Castleford as number 14 Sean Irwin puts the kick through and finds touch just inside the Norden 25. But what a hectic last 10-15 minutes we've had here. The ball going from end to end as we come up to half an hour gone on the clock in this second half. It's Bradford Norden still with that 6-point lead. Castleford 10, Bradford Norden 16, and of course Norden's head and ball. Summers, the ball out to Gerald Caudle. Caudle just overrunning that ball there, so down we go to scrum again. The position loss there. Good opportunity lost there for Bradford Norden to work the ball back into the Castleford half, but it's Castleford with the ball from the scrum. Grant Anderson. Anderson looks to go around his namesake Tony Anderson, but brought to ground. Blackmore sells to them, steps out of one tackle, but finally wrapped up by Steve McGowan. Ford dancing round, gets the ball to Irwin. Irwin coming across the centre of the post. Back to Ford, but Ford back into the waiting cover there. And referee waves play on as Lee Crooks straightens up. Gets the ball to Nick Howe. Nick Howe offloads, and once again the ball picked up by Roger Simpson. Simpson steps inside, and once again good sweeping there by the Bradford Norden fullback. Picks that ball up, relieves the pressure for Bradford Norden as Roy Powell takes the drive up. Trevor Clark, first man on the drive. Northern working the short side. The ball to David Hobbs. Hobbs settles the dummy, but just obstructed there as Castleford pick the ball up now with Blackmore. Blackmore looking to go inside, but so it's Castleford back on the attack now inside the Northern 25. Nick Howe with the little run round with Anderson, and good tackle there by Tony Marchant. Brings his opposing centre down, but pressure still back on Bradford Norden's. Anderson steps round one, but watch the yard short of the Norden try line. Castleford still with the ball. Gets the ball on two. The ball going over the top. Finally picked up by the number 2, St. John Ellis, but St. John Ellis manages to offload that ball to the number 3, Tony Smith. 4 tackles gone now for Castleford. Winger looking to dive in on his own. That's the 5th and last tackle now. The tackle wasted there by Castleford. Once again trying to dive in. That'll be the handover. And referee there should bring it back out to the 10-yard line. The new rule, that was an infringement within that new 10-yard. And obviously referee there not knowing his new rules this season. That was the handover. It should have come 10 yards out, but Norden now with the ball. David Hobbs Castleford players up very, very quickly there. On to David Hobbs. Neil Summers from the acting half-back. Medley out wide. Looks to hand one off, but brought down on the 25 as Trevor Clark in at the acting half-back. It's the ball to Steve McGowan. McGowan puts the boot to the ball and finds touch on the halfway line. And a substitution being made for Bradford Northern. It's Daryl Shelford coming back on at number 4 and Tony Anderson going off. He took a bit of a knock in the back 5 or 6 minutes ago. And it'll be Tony Marchant going up to the standoff position. So Castleford feed the ball. And catching Steve McGowan. Offside there from that play of the ball. We make it 8 minutes to go on the clock as Mike Ford finds a safe touch for Castleford, but Northern back under pressure now. Winger coming in from the wing, but well met there by Trevor Clark. Northern need to tackle now to keep Castleford out as the ball's dropped off to Lee Crooks, but Crooks wrestled to the ground there by Roy Powell. Little short ball to the number 12, Tony Morrison, back on the field after that 10 minutes in the sin bin. Ford looking to move the ball out to Grant Anderson. And the player there just nearly overrunning that ball, but Steve McGowan in quickly on the tackles. Castleford work the short side with Ford. And well taken there by Gerald Cordell. That ball chipped through, Cordell going down on the ball, so it's chance for Northern to drive this ball out. Roger Simpson from the acting half back there as Roy Powell on the charge again. Dips the shoulder, knocks one off, but no way through as Marchant. Medley once again on a run, but well policed there by 3 or 4 Castleford players. Summers shapes up to kick. That'll be back to 6 tackles there. That touched the Castleford player, so Northern now with a further 6 tackles. Roger Simpson taking that first man in. Still not out of their own 25 yet, Bradford Northern. Marchant checks, but wrapped up on the rebound there as Northern a little bit static at the moment, and it's like Marchant taking a little bit of a knock on the knee there. Castleford up very, very quickly. David Hobbs gets the ball, that's all on. That touched the Castleford man, so that should be head and ball to Bradford Northern on the halfway line. It was the kick of David Hobbs, so chance to regain possession, yes. Referee signals head and put in to Bradford Northern. And Tony Marchant down there receiving attention. And Northern making a substitution. It's John Hamer coming back on the park, and Tony Marchant will be the player to go off. Marie there just giving him some attention. Looks like a bit of a knock on the knee. So Wayne Heron coming out of the pack. John Hamer going into the pack. And Dave Heron going into the standoff position. As Northern get the ball in the scrum, out to Heron. Heron straightening up, gets the ball on to McGowan. McGowan straightens up, tries to go down the inside, but pulled down by the shirt. John Hamer, first touch of the ball after coming back on. David Hobbs working the short side, gets the ball to Medley. Medley spinning round, trying to get out, but 5 minutes to go in this game as Northern come again with John Hamer. 35 yards from the Castleford try line. Heron, ball out to Roy Powell. Powell on the charge. Powell pops a nice ball up there to Heron. Heron falls to the tackle there of Graham Steadman. Last tackle now for Bradford Northern as David Hobbs, attempted drop goal, that's off a Castleford man, that's all on, but Castleford get the ball now as the ball out too. Good tackle there on the Simon Middleton by Gerald Cordell as Middleton made the half break, and a bad pass there by Castleford. But the number 6 Anderson managing to hang on to that ball as Crooks on the charge again, dips his shoulder. Looks for the supporting centres coming through, but well tackled. Castleford once again. Up to the halfway line. Ford getting the ball out, the long ball out. Nickow now. Nickow looked to sell the dummy, but well wrapped up there by David Hobbs. Last tackle signal by the referee, Mike Ford. Lays the ball off, but that's a good tackle by Norden. The ball dropped out, so that'll be the handover there. Castleford winger St John there, just trying to drop the ball out. So it's Norden, 6 tackles. John Hamer. Hamer driving up to the halfway line. Brian Noble having to go on his own there. The pack just stood about. It's been a tiring afternoon. David Hobbs. Hobbs going down the short side, looking to make that half break, but Norden need keep possession now and then use the kicking game as Roy Powell comes again. Heron with the long ball out. Roger Simpson pops it up in the air, looks to sell the little dummy, gets out of the clutches of one, but finally wrapped up. That's the last tackle now for Bradford Norden as Summers signals the bomb, the up and under, as Stedman safely takes the ball. Beats the first man, gets out of one, but well wrapped up there by Daryl Shelford and Stevie McGowan. So it's Castleford in their own 25. Norden, good tackle there by Paul Medley. Good hit, forcing Castleford just a yard from the line as Nickow brings the ball away, but he's met by 3. The ball coming out. Norden regained possession, but referee saying no knock on. It's Bradford's possession. So a chance for Norden, just 10 yards from that Castleford line. David Hobbs switching the play. The ball over the top to Roger Simpson. Gets the ball to Kebby. Kebby stops and no way around this time for Kebby, and the touch judge in there. Obviously seen an infringement on Kebby. Looks to be linesman there saying he'd rubbed his face into the grass. And it looks like a bit of cramp as well that Kebby's ended up with there. Probably the reason why he stopped that little bit dead. Oh, a chance for David Hobbs. Will he elect to go for goal, or will he pop the ball into the corner and keep the pressure on Castleford? We make it just 2 minutes to go on the clock here. There was just 1 or 2 stoppages during the first half, and obviously Kebby there. David putting the ball into touch. So that'll be a restart to Bradford Norden on the 10-yard mark. John Hamer on the drive. Hamer 2 yards from the Castleford line. Roy Powell. Powell looks to sell the dummy, spinning round, but Powell wrestled to the floor. Norden once again need a quick ball out. The far side openers. Hobbs once again the drop goal attempt, but referees giving offside there to John Hamer. Hamer in an offside position. Hobbs trying to make the game safe to make Castleford score twice. So it's Stedman who taps that ball from the resulting penalty, but straight into the waiting arms of Trevor Clark. The big number 15 again, but that'll be a high tackle. Trevor Clark there just going a little bit high around Dean Sampson as Castleford want to get this game going very, very quickly. They know we're in the dying minutes of this preliminary round, and of course Castleford, the Yorkshire Cup winners last year. It's a good ball by Lee Crooks. Attempted kick of the ball there, and referee giving the knock on. And a penalty there, it looks like, holding him down. Castleford, as we were saying, were winners of the Yorkshire Cup, and Lee Crooks, the ball there, a bad pass by Lee Crooks, and Steve McGowan in very, very quickly. And it would be a travesty, of course, but Castleford going out in this preliminary round. They were the winners last year, and of course Bradford Norden the beaten finalists. but it's Castleford now throwing everything at the Bradford defence with Nicow. To sell the dummy, looks to get the ball over the top, but good tackle there by David Hobbs. Castleford 10, Bradford Northern 16, and there goes the final hooter. A good win by Bradford Northern, a good round, all team performance, and of course the man this afternoon, 2 tries on his debut for the club, Brimmer Kebby, gets the adulation there of the Bradford fans. Brimmer, a warm welcome to Bradford Northern, and what a super way to start, a 2-try performance.
Yes, come at the club, and so that makes it a lot easier to settle. I felt as if I'd been here for years and I really enjoyed it.
So obviously you like playing outside of Dal Shelford, and the long balls out made all the difference this afternoon, and that little bit of pace that you've got.
Yes, on Thursday and Saturday we went through trying to get the ball out wide, and I think we caught Castleford napping, because I don't think they expected us to do that. So maybe we got a few more tricks up our sleeve this season.
What was the problem at the end? A little bit of cramp, was it? Or?
It was a bit of cramp. I haven't had any match practice. That was my first game since last season, and so it went quite well.
Well, once again, well done, Brimmer, and many more tries for Bradford Northern in this 92-93 season.
Yeah, well, I promised Peter that I could score 40, so it's not a bad start.
OK, thanks, Brimmer. Well, a good win for Bradford Northern. The match facts this afternoon. After 6 minutes, it was a penalty goal by Castleford for Lee Crooks that opened the account. So it's Castleford 2, Bradford Northern 0. And then that opening try of Brimmer Kebby's on the 13th minute, his debut try for the club, making the score Castleford 2, Bradford Northern 4. Castleford then coming back, scoring a try, making it 6-4. And a 40th minute penalty goal by David Hobbs, levelling the scores at half-time. Half-time here at Weldon Road, it was Castleford 6, Bradford Northern 6. Northern came out in that second half with a lot of fire in the bellies, and on the 43rd minute, a good Bradford try, ball out wide to Paul Medley, and Medley triumphantly going over in the corner. David Hobbs converting, making the score Castleford 6, Bradford 12. Castleford replied then in the 51st minute with another good try. Just 2 points adrift then, but Northern coming back on the 63rd minute, and the second try of the afternoon for Brimmer Kebby, making the final score Castleford 10, Bradford Northern 16. The scrums, Bradford won 8, Castleford won 10, and the penalty count a staggering 10 against Bradford Northern and only 5 awarded to Castleford. So Northern now go into the first round proper of the John Smith Yorkshire Cup, and of course Castleford, the winners of the Yorkshire Cup last year, take the wooden spoon. So from a very, very happy Weldon Road this afternoon, a very good afternoon.